So hopefully a quick video here explaining the artifact system, how to spend your power, when to spend your power, when to hold on to your power, and just basic do's and don'ts. For the most part, it's very straightforward, but there are a couple of very key points you need to understand. First off being, and I'll tell you right now, do not ever at any point respec your artifact. All this does is allow you to relocate your artifact power spent into that very specific weapon. It does nothing but delay your progression in your artifact. It costs, depending on your artifact level, one full trait level of points will go away. You'll never get them back, they're gone forever. So, to respec your weapon, you have to literally cost yourself an entire point. It will put you a day, an hour, a week behind on leveling your artifact to max level, whatever that may be. So at no point should you ever put yourself in a situation where you need to respec your artifact. Just simply don't do it. You are wasting time. You're better off leaving that misspent point in there rather than just losing a point completely. Doesn't matter if you respec it with your 3rd point or your 35th point. There is no reason at any point to ever respec your artifact. Furthermore, now that we have that out of the way, I'm sure by now you understand that each class gets an artifact specific to their chosen spec and role in the raid. Warriors get a Fury artifact, 2 two-handers, an Arms artifact, 1 two-hander, and a Sword and Shield for prot. Now, artifact power is spent depending on which weapon you have equipped when you use the token or you complete a quest giving you artifact power. It is automatically learned to that weapon. It can never be removed from that weapon. So you need to be very careful which weapon you have equipped when using artifact power-ups or completing artifact quests. It's pretty simple. You do not have to level with the weapon you wish to level. You can level as a Holy Paladin, but put all your artifact power into your ret weapon, and vice versa. So if you are a healer and you're choosing to level by yourself and you would much rather level as your DPS spec, you can very well do that. There's no downside to it, other than whenever you use your artifact power or you complete an artifact power quest, they're very obvious that you make sure you equip the correct artifact. And on top of equipping the correct artifact, you also need to be that specialization. But with the way the game works now, you can respec whenever you want, and it will automatically change your artifact. As you can see, go to Fury, automatically has my Fury artifacts on, and Arms or Protection. So be very careful when you use an artifact power-up. Make sure you have the right weapon on. You will just waste time if you do not. The next thing I want to discuss, now that you understand never to respec your artifact and how to spend the power into your artifact properly, make sure you don't put it in the wrong weapon because you will feel very stupid, is leveling your artifact for raiding, dungeoning, whatever you're going to do. You are to some extent pigeonholed into choosing your spec. You are going to be furthermore defined than ever before in WoW history of what your spec is. You will be a prot warrior, a tank, you will be an arms warrior, or you will be a fury warrior. There is very little room for dual specking or side specking as far as artifact progression goes, as artifact power is not, as you well know, shared between weapons. So leveling all of your weapons up equally will just make you mediocre at all 3 of them, as some of the traits in these weapons are vastly better, and some of them are useless, but you cannot level multiple specs at the same time and be efficient. So there is a balance, however, and a way you can do it. There's a spreadsheet I'm going to throw up on the screen here. As you can see with this wonderful spreadsheet made by somebody down here, they went through all the trouble of mathing everything out for us. So looking at this spreadsheet, a couple of things to point out. All data is at 0 artifact knowledge. It is calculated on another sheet. None of this includes world drops or random artifact power gains you'll get throughout the world or bonuses you'll receive throughout the world. Nor does it calculate saving your artifact knowledge, all the consumables until the very end, which I do not suggest you do. I think it's outright stupid. Another thing, do not do that. Do not save your consumables. Use them as you get them on the weapon you need to be using. There is no benefit to saving them whatsoever. You will save yourself a day, maybe 2 days to max your artifact weapon, but this will cause you a lot of inconvenience as far as having to have 150, 200 items in your bags for 2 fucking months. Don't bother doing it. It is not worth it. You will just be behind and you will look stupid. It's a page here on the artifact spreadsheet. You can see that it gives you AP trait cost, total cost to get that number of traits in the weapon, and it goes all the way down to maxing out the weapon at 55 traits. Now, one thing to understand about traits is they all cost the same. Dragon traits, the golden ones, simple traits that are 1 point or 3 points, they all cost the same amount of artifact relatively. Nothing costs more than another trait. So, first trait costs 100, second trait costs 300, 325, so on and so forth, going all the way down. Off to the side here in column C, you can see the total amount of artifact power required to get that level. So at 16 down here, so 15 traits in your artifact weapon. 15 traits, whether they were all wherever you put them, 15 of them costs you. The 15th point costs you 8,830 artifact power to get point number 15. At this point, you have spent a total of 22,170 artifact power into your weapon. As you can see, it goes up quite a bit. From the 15 to 16, it jumps a lot. From 14, 18, it starts scaling a lot. Once you hit 20 points, artifact power starts getting ridiculous. As you can see, it's 30,000, 40,000, 51,000, 65,000, 82,000, 100,000. So for your 25th artifact point, you need to spend 100,000 artifact power to get 1 point. 1 point. At this point, to get 25 points, you have spent 464,000 artifact power, and your next one costs literally a third of that at 140,000. So as you can see, leveling one weapon all the way up takes a lot of time and it scales very high. Now here's the kicker. Each weapon is different. So if you level one weapon all the way up to this point at 25 points to where it costs 100,000, you start your next weapon, it starts right back at 100. So, putting it this way, to get 25 points, 26 points at 100,000 artifact power, the difference between getting point number 25 and point number 26, so 140,000. If you cross-reference over to here, that means your 26th point in your primary artifact weapon costs the same as if you were to go to your off-spec weapon and put 20 points into it. So, you can sacrifice 1 point at this point in your artifact weapon for 20 points in your off-spec weapon. So if you are a healer and you go all the way down to 25 points in your main artifact, you can then level your red artifact all the way up to level 20 before you would have point one more point in your main artifact. So leveling your off-spec is not that big of a deal, but you have to understand once you get to about the 17 or 18 point mark, you're not going to want to level your artifact past this point just because it's going to take away too much for maxing your main artifact. The third tab here shows you artifact level, the day, the AP gain you gain per day, the total AP, and off to the side here's your artifact knowledge. So you receive artifact knowledge, a work order at your garrison every 5 days. I'll show you right here what I'm talking about. So every 5 days you will receive a work order just like your garrison. No different. You need to be doing these as soon as they come up. Each point of artifact knowledge increases how much artifact power you receive from tokens. All tokens start out at the same. They give you between 5 and 250 artifact power per use. You get them from quests, from dungeons, from everything. Artifact knowledge is what allows you to get up to these values of 100,000 for 1 point. Each point of artifact knowledge gives you a percentage, so you need to come here every time they come up. They come up every 5 days. You need to be doing them religiously. So you train your artifact knowledge. As you can see, all work orders will be completed in 1 day. You loot it right here. It gives you an artifact level. Now, if you look at your weapon, highlight up here in the left-hand corner, my artifact level right now is level 8. That means I have done 8 work orders, or 8 times 5 worth of days, doing artifact knowledge training. Which means, so any item, those items that give me 25 artifact knowledge are increased now by 500%. So, with level 8 artifact knowledge, the daily dungeon, the daily heroic dungeon, now gives me 2,400 artifact power, versus at 0 artifact power, it probably gives 240. So you can understand that that's the way the artifact scaling works. Artifact knowledge needs to be your #1 thing you are doing. It is what is going to really decide how fast you level your weapon and how fast you become efficient. So going back over to our spreadsheet, as you can see here, so this is how long it takes you to get set artifact levels. So at day 5 you will receive artifact level 1, which is a 25% increase to artifact power from all sources. Level 2 is 50, level 3 is 90, it goes up even more. Level 4 is 140, level 5 is 200, so on and so forth. Artifact knowledge scales all the way, I'm not sure, it looks like it goes all the way up to theoretical values of level 25. At this point, you're going to be able to max your weapon in a day. So it just scales infinitely every 5 days, so you'll be able to catch up your 3rd or 2nd spec fairly quickly after a certain amount of time. But so what this means is this is the most important thing to doing with your artifacts, is doing your artifact missions every time they come up, every 5 days, turning them in and starting the next one. It is imperative to being relevant with your artifact knowledge. So you can see day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, you get 0 bonus, day 6, all the way through 10, etc. So the most important thing for all of this is going to be, what can you accomplish before raiding comes out? So it's all been broken down in the spreadsheet for you. How many traits can you have in your artifact weapon before heroic comes out, before mythic comes out, before you're expected to be top tier, before you're expected to be able to min-max? What can you do with your weapon or weapons before raid content and mythic content in general is released? Luckily, that's all been worked out again by the spreadsheet. If you take a look here, it is worked out. So, when normal and heroic rating comes out, plus mythic week, that's 22 days into the expansion. That means at that point, you will have been able to obtain a total of 112,659 artifact power. Not counting, again, random drops, emissary stuff, spamming heroic, so this number is probably a little low. You can get more, but bare minimum, if you do all of your Suramar dailies, if you do your daily heroic every day, and all of your world quests, you will get about this amount. So what does that mean? It says 19 traits, and then again, furthermore, 29 days into the expansion, mythic raid unlocks. So that's mythic raiding, mythic 20-man raiding. At that point, you can get 171,855 artifact power total. So, next we're going to swap over to the trait cost. And you can see right here, at that point, you're at 171,000 artifact power obtained. You are going to be able to put roughly 22 to 23 talents in one artifact. Or you can split them between artifacts. So the best way to figure this out is different for everybody's artifact, where your gold dragon talents are, what paths you want to take. Every weapon is different. Every single weapon is different. So we go over to WoWDB, who has a wonderful little talent calculator that shows all this for us. Makes it very, very, very simple. It even tells you how much everything costs. So if we reset this, we go over to, let's just go with the prot one here. Your first talent point is a freebie. So your next talent point at this point is going to cost you 300 artifact power, so on and so forth. So 300, 325, 350, and so on and so forth. So, to rush to our first gold dragon talent in protection, you need to be right here at this point. This is at 12 points spent or 5,500 artifact power total spent into this weapon for your first dragon talent. Now say you're going to go for your second one. 65, 13,000, 22,000, 33,000. So for Prot Warriors to get your second artifact weapon, you need to have 17 points, say you choose this route, or 47,000 artifact power. Say 50k rounded up easily. So 50,000 artifact power. We go back over to our calculator here. So to get 50,000 artifact power, so 50,000 artifact power. So 50,000 artifact power, like you see here, is 17 points. At this point, it is where it starts scaling up a lot. It becomes over 4,000 artifact power per point and continues to go up like crazy. At this point, 50,000 artifact power, 17 traits. So, we've spent 50,000 artifact power and we are now 17 traits into our Prot weapon. Going back over to here, how much can we have? 112,000 before Heroic Raid is released. So, we have 60, 70, maybe a little bit more, 60, 70,000 more artifact power to work with. What can we do with that in our weapon? So let's take it up to 70,000. 60,000, 90. This is the point we can get when Heroic Raiding is released. We can get our second Golden Dragon talent going this way, and then 3 more points. Any more than that, this is the max you can put into the Prot artifact when Heroic Raid releases of that week. So, or say we take these points out of here, puts us right back down to 50,000. We can then proceed to go over to, let's say, the Fury artifact. And like I said before, we have 60, 70,000 artifact power to play with. So let's go into the Fury artifact. How many points can we get? How far can we get with 70,000 artifact power? Let's see. We're at 30,000 right now. We have our first Golden Dragon talent. We can get almost our second Golden Dragon talent from this. Not quite, but close. At 100,000, 121,000, we can get our second one. So if you want to go Prot Fury or some spec like that, you can definitely level 2 artifact weapons at the same time, but you're going to be cutting it close. At this point, the difference, these 2 points right here, these extra 2 points here and this point, are equivalent to every single point we spent in the Prot weapon. So you have to decide how important is your Prot, or even your arms weapon if you wanted to go Arms and Fury. So again, let's go Arms and Fury here. Spend ourselves, let's get our first Golden Dragon talent in Fury. This is the important route for Fury. So for Fury, at our first Golden Dragon talent, because the other two, to be honest, they're crap, we spent 33,000 artifact power. We remember, before Heroic Raid comes out, we have 121,000 to play with. Maybe more, maybe, I'm estimating about 125, 130,000 if you do Heroics and you really go hard. So, we spent 30,000. That leaves us with, let's go back to our thing again, if I've spent 30,000 artifact power, that gives me about 95,000 artifact power left to play with. So let's say I want to go Arms and Fury. Let's go into the arms tree. How much can we get for 90,000? Let's just go for this route, for an AoE route. So 2,000. First Golden Dragon talent we get at 4,000 artifact power. Let's go for our second one. We're at 22,000, 40,000, 60,000, 90,000. So give or take, depending on how hard we can go, we can potentially get 2 Golden Dragon talents in the Arms talent tree and in the Fury talent tree while still staying under or around this for Heroic Rating. So when Heroic Raid comes out, depending on your class, you can potentially have 2 very viable artifact weapons. Or you can choose to just spend all of your artifact power into one weapon and get it going. Now, going beyond this point, going beyond roughly spending between 15 and 19 points in your artifact weapon, that is the best you're going to get for leveling an off-spec. I do not suggest you try to put any more points into an off-spec. At this point, you need to choose what your main spec is going to be, because as artifact goes up, it gets exponentially more expensive. 1 point you're going to have to choose each week. Am I going to put 1 point in my arms weapon or 1 point in my fury weapon? Instead of being able to put 2 points in your arms weapon or 2 points in your fury weapon as you get closer to your 3rd artifact trait. And also, not to mention, in a lot of these artifacts there are a lot of dead talents, which are just completely freaking pointless. For example, as far as DPS goes, do you really care that when Die by the Sword is active, your damage taken is reduced by 5%? Let me go ahead and take this talent. There goes 30,000 artifact power. 30,000 for a dead jump for the most part. It goes the same way when you're looking at the Prot artifact. This is the same way for a lot of classes. I can choose here between Ignore Pain or Thunderclap damage. I come up to here. I get to have to deal with Heroic Leap cooldown reduced by 2, 4, and 6 seconds in order to get my 3rd Golden Dragon talent. So as you can see, the way you path really matters. There are a lot of dead talents, or just talents that don't matter very much. Extra damage and Thunderclap, nobody cares. You go up to this side of the artifact, a little bit more armor is a good thing. 3% stamina, not that big of a deal, not worth the ludicrous amount of artifact power it takes to get that. 160,000 to 350,000 to max that. Extra health when you have last stand up can be useful, but last stand's a long cooldown. Increased duration and radius of demoralizing shout. Very mediocre, and this one in and of itself is complete crap comparatively to the other two, which is 60% on Ignore Pain and chance for 30% increased armor. So where you choose to spend your points and when you choose to spend them do make a big deal. So I for myself will be leveling 2 artifact weapons at the same time, but for some classes that don't have a viable off spec, or classes where their main spec is the best for, say, Hunter or another class, or even healers, you may be better off if you look at the Mage artifact. Completely different, not even in the same ballpark. You can see the way it's shaped. It's very different what chooses you're going to go with. This is the Arcane one. The Fire one's completely different again. The Frost one's the same thing as the Fire one, but a different shape. Each class and each specialization is different, and you have to choose accordingly. So play with the talent calculator, math out what you're going to do, use the spreadsheet, figure out how much artifact power you're going to get, how much you can do before mythic rating. That way you're going to be prepared and you can make an informed decision with your artifact power, where you're going to spend your points, why you're going to spend your points there, and how you're going to do it. This spreadsheet is amazing. It does all the math for you. You just have to apply it to your specific artifact weapon, and you profit. Again, this thing is in the description of the video. Props to the guy that made this. Props to Watcher for going through and responding to it. It's great. The last part of this video I want to touch base on is going to be the other portion, the other half of your artifact weapon, which is going to be the relics. Relics are what dictate the item level of your artifact. Relics drop from the world quests, they come from instances, they come from dungeon rewards. They're what's going to choose what item level your weapon is, much like your artifact traits are very similar to the talent trees back in the day. These are what dictate how high level your weapon is. As you can see, all 3 of my artifacts are different levels. 870, 878, 879. This is all due to different high level relics in my thing. You start off with 2 different relics, and you unlock a 3rd one through doing your order hall missions and your class quests. So each one is different. There are many different kinds. For the Prot weapon in specific, Prot gets an Iron relic slot, a Blood relic slot, and a Fire relic slot. So, and obviously you match them up, Fire relic in a fire slot, Blood and Blood, Iron and Iron. You cannot swap in a relic that does not fit in that slot. Relics all have different item level based on where you obtain them. This came from a Mythic 4 dungeon. It's 850 eye level. It gives me 43 eye level to my weapon, and plus run around tank. This one is from a normal Mythic. This one is from a Mythic 5, and it was Warforged. So this one gives me 46 item level to my weapon, whereas this one gives me 43, and this one gives me 40. Different item levels, different amount of eye level it puts on my weapon. All the eye level adds up, so 46 plus 40 plus 43 plus the base level of the artifact, and it puts my prod artifact all the way up at 879. So the other part to these traits, and one of the traits that add on to these things, is they are random. Depending on which relic you get, it's going to give you a different trait. For example, this fire relic gives +1 rank to dragon skin, and as you can see down here on dragon skin increases the total damage ignored by ignore pain by 2% per level. And you notice how it is 4 of 4. You notice how the rank shows in green, rank 4 of 4, whereas this shows 3 of 3. That means on top of the 3 points I have into this trait, I'm getting +1 more effective level, which is another 2% from having this relic. So what that means is each relic you have gives you a bonus, and you can have multiple of the same. So I could have the same one that gives me +1 to dragon skin on each one of these, depending on how it rolls and which relic it is. So a dragon skin talent could technically go up to a total of 6 of 6 instead of 3 of 3, bringing the total ignored by ignore pain up to 12% from 6%. But on that same note, you can also run into the issue of you will get some bad ones. This is one that is another good one. Increase the critical strike chance. Notice how it shows 20% because this is a talent that normally goes up to 3. With this relic, it's putting it at 4 of 4. Over here, for example, I have no points spent into this trait. However, my relic here adds 1 point to Rage of the Fallen, which is 6% damage on Revenge. You do not have to have points active in these traits to make them work with a relic. You cannot get a relic that will affect a Golden Dragon talent. You can get a relic for almost all other traits as far as I know, other than some 1-pointers where there's no increase to be made. If you look at the Fury one, for example, this one gives me, I have no points into this unlocked anywhere down here, but this relic is giving me increases all critical strike damage you deal by 5%. Battlecry, it's all by itself. This is active even though I have no points into it. Furthermore to that note, having a relic does not mean that these links become active. So just because I have a relic in here does not mean I can skip ahead into the tree. As you can see, it says no active relics. The same thing goes for any of the other weapons, and the different relics you have unlock different things. Now, the downside to this is you can get relics that give you total crap. For example, this relic right here gives you, when you heroic leap, you gain 20% increased armor and chance to parry for 4 seconds. That is not a DPS increased relic. It puts talents into something like this. You can also get relics that do all kinds of stuff. They can effectively enhance any one of these traits, which means some of them will be very powerful, some of them will be very, very bad. For example, I had a prot one that took, for this weapon, that took another 2 seconds off of heroic leap. 2 seconds off of heroic leap versus 2% damage reduction on ignore pain, or 10% more damage on thunderclap, or 10 more rage, or 5% more crit, or 6% more damage. As you can see, 2 seconds off heroic leap, you're not going to be writing home about. You want to avoid these relics. There's also going to be a balance between when you take a relic out, it will destroy the old one. So for example, if I were to swap in this relic that is 45 item level, and increases the damage done by my thunderclap by 10%. If I were to swap this iron relic in for this iron relic, it will destroy it. So, the question I have to decide is now, is 10% damage on thunderclap for the item level difference of 45 to 43 is 2 item level on my weapon worth losing 6% damage on revenge, your number 2 damage as prot, for 10% damage on thunderclap? Not too much of a debate. The Thunderclap one is a little bit better just because of the item level gain, but if you had to choose between revenge damage and a couple seconds off heroic leap for 1 or 2 item level, it becomes a bit more of a debate. Also, you have to have different relics for each of your weapons. You cannot use the same relic in multiple weapons. They are one-time use. They are socketed in. They're just like gems. If you remove them, they get destroyed. Each weapon has different ones. For example, so for Fury, Fury has a Fire Relic, a Storm Relic, and an Iron Relic. Protection, again, has an Iron Relic, a Blood Relic, and a Fire Relic. Arms has a Shadow Relic, a Blood Relic, and an Iron Relic. So all 3 warrior artifacts require an Iron Relic of some kind. 2 of them use a Blood Relic. Arms uses a Shadow Relic. Fury uses a Storm Relic. And Arms uses a Shadow Relic as well. So, given that note, relics, where you get them, you're going to want to farm them from things like World Quests, as you can see here in the World Quests. You get different rewards, Order Hall resources, gold, artifact power, so on and so forth. This World Quest in specific here gives an artifact, a relic, for your artifact, 39 eye level, and increases rage by up to 30, so that's another 10 rage for an iron relic slot. Now, notice how it's a lower eye level than what I have. This, however, can roll epic, and it can roll Warforged or Titanforged. So this relic, when I go complete this quest, could potentially be better than what I have. The best way you're going to be able to get relics is going to be doing world quests and whatnot. And there's also a garrison trait. You're going to get traits you have to train here at your garrison that will give you different bonuses. As you level up your thing, you get more of them. Eventually, when you maxed out, you'll be able to equip 2 legendary items. But my suggestion is you want to take Odin's Favor. There's a different one for each order hall, but increases a chance for quest rewards to get a rare or epic bonus upgrade from non-repeatable quests. What that means is when I go do a world quest, i.e. the Suramar one, I now have an increased chance from the regular one for this to become Titanforged, Warforged, rare, or epic, versus the other one. It works on non-repeatable quests. World quests are not considered repeatable, but it will not work on quests where you receive a certain item, the same item over and over again. But there are tons of world quests that pop up. Some give, here's another one that gives another relic, which is an 805 plus. It's much more lower eye level. It's eye level 31 to my weapon. And this one for the arms one, Colossal Smash, reduces the rage cost of your next World Strike by 15%. So you're going to want to pick and choose which ones you do, and certain artifacts do things for different weapons. Again, for example, with my arms artifact open, I look at this iron relic. Gives me a heal. It gives me a trait to touch. If I open my fury relic, this relic gives me a trait to blood craze. If I open up my prot relic, this trait gives me plus damage to thunderclap. The item rolls with a pre-decided amount depending on which weapon you choose to put it in. So, this may not be an upgrade for my arms weapon, it may be an upgrade for my prot or my fury weapon. You have to make that decision on your own. You obviously want to be smart about it.